to Meeke. It's time for my favorite section of the show. My favorite
Absolutely.
part of the show. I mean, because, you know, we kind of, you help me, Ed. You help me understand things. And it's a part of the show that we call Know This Is Real. Because we, you know, I come across headlines that I find a little bit hard to believe and sometimes hard to understand. And Eddy V, Eva Tagliano, Director of Research for American Family Association, you're in studio to help me make sense of them.
Absolutely.
So let's do that.
It's what I do, Meeke.
It's what you do.
I make sense of the world.
You know, and it's so effortless for you. You just kind of, it's like, tell me what your situation is, and then there you go. So, Ed, but you and I have not had an opportunity to talk since before the election.
Right.
So here we are, a couple weeks out, and you know, our country has gone through kind of like a transition in some areas of the country.
Right.
But I found this story, and I just wanted to throw this out to you. It's a little bit kind of after the fact, but still interesting nonetheless. So you know how there are these voter registration drives that happen all the time where people are, you know, being encouraged to register to vote, and people are being signed up. And so I came across this headline, Chapel Hill killer registered and voted from a mental hospital there in North Carolina. And I'm referring to Wendell Justin Williamson, who in 1995 killed 2 people at Chapel Hill.
Wow.
I think he had like a semi-automatic rifle or something like that. And he was ruled not guilty by reason of insanity. But since then, he's been a resident at a regional mental facility there in North Carolina. And he was registered, and he filled out an absentee I guess, voter ballot and voted in this year's election. And so as I continued to read this story, there were a lot of mental institution residents who were registered to vote in North Carolina alone. But according to this article, that's not something that's supposed to happen, that people are supposed to be signed up by family members. If they're going to register, you know, it's supposed to be, here's my sister, and I want to make sure that she's not discriminated against.
Yeah.
She understands what's happening in the world. She wants her voice to count.
Right.
That's not what happened in this case. So I was, you know, how does this kind of thing happen, Ed?
Well, you know, first of all, I thought that if you were a felon, you couldn't vote. So,
I thought so too, but see, he was ruled not guilty by reason of insanity.
So then he would not be a
And is that
felon.
the only case where you're not allowed to vote? It's just only if you're a convicted felon?
As far as I know, I mean, if you're a citizen, I think felons are not allowed to vote.
Yeah.
But now, this probably sounds bad, but I think there were a lot of crazy people who vote every election.
If you look at what happened in our country,
I have family members who should not be voting.
I mean, you know, as do I.
Yeah.
You know, so there's
you know what?
Stuff going on.
In terms of getting people to vote, I can see trying to remove as many obstacles as possible.
Yeah.
You know, you want people. I mean, that is the, you know, quintessential American right is to vote. So I can see if the legislature had made it easier, but you don't want to break the rules. If the rules are bad, then you change them.
Yeah.
But you don't just break them.
Yeah.
So
exactly, and that's what I wonder if that, you know, it seems like that's what happened. I don't have it on authority, but it seems like, you know, that's what happened. I want to ask you this. This is just opinion.
Okay.
And this is not one of my stories, but I'm just curious. You know, there was a hot discussion in the days leading up, the weeks leading up to the election, that people who were imprisoned should still be able to vote. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, I guess it depends. I guess it depends on the nature of their crime. Now, I think the idea behind not allowing felons to vote is that they have committed a crime against society.
Sure.
And so then you're no longer allowed to speak into that society by virtue of your vote.
Yeah.
You know, but it would depend. No, I think I'm going to change my mind. I think if you're in prison, then the legal system has considered. I was going to say for things like DUI or even possession of, you know, certain amounts of illegal substances. Those aren't violent crimes, but I changed my mind. I think if you're in prison and you've broken the law, you've committed a crime against society, then in a lot of ways you've lost your right to help build that society up.
Sure, because you're tearing
it down.
Good point. Good. I just wanted to know what you were thinking. Well, speaking of criminals, and, you know, talking about what punishment should be, 32-year-old woman by the name of Sheena Harden pleaded guilty because she didn't stop for a school bus. You know how the school buses stop, you're supposed to stop a certain distance behind them. Well, here's what she was doing, and she made this a practice. She would drive up onto the sidewalk to avoid having to stop behind the school bus.
Okay.
So the bus driver noticed that this was her practice every day at this time, and
I think I dated her in high school.
Did you really? Well, let me tell you. So here was her sentence. Okay. The judge on the case said that only an idiot would not stop for a children's or child's school bus, right? Okay. So this is what he said. She was ordered to lose her driver's license or have it suspended for 30 days, and she had to pay $250 in court costs. But she also had to wear a sign that read, "Only an idiot would drive on the sidewalk to avoid the school bus." She had to wear that for an hour a day for 2 days a week, or for 2 days in 1 week, and stand in the spot where she would run up onto the... So some people say they like the creativity of this judge. Some people say that's harsh for what she did.
Yeah,
what do you say?
I agree. I think, first of all, if someone... And of course, Christians are not supposed to call people names.
Sure.
You know, that's
right.
That's in Matthew 5. We're not supposed to, you know, that you're guilty enough for hell if you call someone even empty-head or fool.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. So, but I would say this: this woman was foolish, and if she doesn't know that by now, a sign's not going to help.
That's true.
So
that's true.
I don't like that kind of public humiliation.
You don't?
I don't. I don't like public humiliation for people. So I think the other stuff was good. I think that if the judge really wanted to drive home the message, you know, have her perform some kind of community service that might be related to understanding why what she did was so dangerous to other people and so inconsiderate. But I don't like publicly shaming people.
Oh, that's good. That's interesting.
Yeah. So you find a different way to punish someone because... You know, the book of Proverbs is filled with verses that say if a person's a fool, most of the time they're not going to listen anyway.
Right.
So
that's true.
Simply humiliating them, I don't think does any good.
That's good. That's interesting. You know, I guess I'm going to change my opinion because I like public humiliation. I feel like, you know, sometimes, you know, you get an immediate response. She's not going to drive up on sidewalks anymore when she's got to... Now people know what she did, and it was reckless. Maybe you could take out the word idiot and then just still have the sign or something like that. I endangered the lives of school children. Yeah. You know. So anyway, okay, let me fit in this last story here because I really... This is unbelievable to me. It's an, you know, endless saga. People don't tip. People go into restaurants, they eat food, they get service, and they, at the end of the meal, forget about the server. They do not tip. Burns me up, Ed. Yeah. Here is this... I'm
a 20% tipper.
Oh, that's awesome.
All the time.
Now, and even depending, no matter what the service is?
No matter what the service is. Oh. Now, my wife is a cheapskate. Is this on television?
It's recorded. We're recording this.
But I not only pay 20% tip, but if it's a little bit over, I round up.
Oh, that's good. Okay, now see, here's where I am. 15%. 15%. If you are really on it, and I'm studying everything, 20%, and I round up as well. Yeah. And here's something else that I do. I was going to save this for the end of the story, but since we're exchanging here, if we use coupons when we go into a restaurant, I tip on the total before the discount is taken. Because they still served you all of that food. Absolutely. They didn't like bring you half a steak. You got a whole steak. You know. So anyway, here's a story. A mom goes into a restaurant and runs up a $138 bill. $138.35, and in the tip line, she writes, "Sorry, single mom." Ooh. And then at the bottom of the bill, she says, "Thank you, it was great." Ed?
I think the next time she comes into the restaurant, she should wear a sign that says, "I'm a cheapskate.
I don't deserve to eat in your establishment."
I don't deserve to eat in your...
Okay, we've got to go. You know, what could $138 have bought for her family for a week? She's a single mom, but she spent it at a restaurant and then chose not to tip and used that as an excuse?
Yeah, I'll go for the sign. Cheapskate.
The only thing The only thing that makes me feel any better about this story is that it's the last one, and I get to tell you about what's got me all pinned up. Okay, all right. Is that a good enough segue there? I'm ready. Okay, so it is the sweetest little gift that you're going to give someone this Christmas season, and I'm going to tell you all about it. How about that?
All right.
It's time for me to tell you what's got me all pinned up this week, and it is the sweetest little gift you're ever going to make at home Literally. And you know, I felt like it was time for me to do something with food because the crew here is usually disappointed when I don't have a Pinterest segment that involves food. So here we go. I found this on Pinterest and it comes from the website bakedbrie.com. Bakedbrie.com. Brie is a mom of 3 kids and she blogs and has her own website in her free time. And so here's what you're doing. This is called Cookies in a Jar, and it's perfect just in time for the holidays. Can I just sing? So here's what you're gonna do. Now keep in mind that when you're at home, you're gonna make this really pretty because presentation is everything. But you're just gonna go down the list as you find it on bakedbrie.com and make sure that you get everything layered in there. She gives you the order to layer it. Here's something else that's really important. Now you can use a regular like measuring cup or spoon that you have to scoop this in. But when you get your canning jar, make sure that you get a wide mouth canning jar. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get in there and make it look pretty. So you start with your brown sugar, that's 1 cup. Then you have your mini chocolate chips, that's a 1/2 cup. And again, presentation is everything, so you're layering that out. Then you have a cup of flour. Now what I've done to kind of save myself a step also in here is baking soda and salt. And again, all of these measurements, you're going to be able to find them on Meeke.org and then also at bakedbrie.com. And if you follow me on Pinterest, it's going to be on the pin board that's entitled, I'd Eat It. So there you go. Now just for the sake of what I'm showing you here, I'm going to make sure to kind of get that leveled. If you're doing this at home, take your time so that you can see each layer of the goodies that's in there. And then next, about 3/4 of a cup of chopped pecans, or you can use walnuts, whatever you want. Oh, that's so good. And again, just going to layer it out. This is really easy, especially when you're working with a wide mouth canning jar. And then finally, your last step, crunched Heath bits. They come in a package. You're going to love it. Crunched Heath bits, right? So there you go. That is so easy. That's homemade. It's called Cookies in a Jar. So here's the best part, right? Screw your lid on. Okay? Put a bow on it. I'm not done yet because once you put a bow on it, you've got to make sure that people know exactly what they're going to do. Now, Brie says that you can kind of print the directions out on her website. She's got everything listed there for you, and you can kind of cut it out and make it your own arts and craft thing at home. But I think there is something dear about handwriting the instructions. You're going to write what's in the jar, and then you write out how to make it. And so just put it on something bright and pretty, and then you can tape it to the jar, or you can kind of put like a little rubber band or a ribbon around it. And there you go from the Addisons. That is so cute. And people are going to love you when you give them something like this, and I'll tell you why. Because all they've got to do is once they get it, they've got to add 2 eggs that are lightly beaten. They've got to add some vanilla and then some melted butter. And that's it, right? And then they pour in the contents of the jar that you've given them, and they end up with this. It's called Toffee Blondies. Oh my goodness, how much will people love you if you give them something like that? I think they're gonna love you a lot. And let's just kind of put it to the test. Eddy V, come here.
I don't have to sing, do I?
No, you don't. Well, no, I just want to, come ye forth and enjoy these blondies. I think I have a little paper towel there. Here you go. You want to try one of those and tell me what you think? This is the end result. If someone gave you this as a gift, would you consider them a friend?
Absolutely.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
I have no idea what it tastes like. I probably should try one.
Well, you could try one.
That's good.
Boy, that is good. And you know what? A 1/2 gallon of ice cream, vanilla ice cream on this.
Oh my goodness.
That's very good.
Man.
Excuse me, very good.
You know who's going to love this? Austin. Our camera guy is going to love this because he's the one who always wants us to do food Pinterest segments. So, thanks so much. Man.
That's excellent. Do we have to share them with Austin?
I have had to protect these, Ed. So anyway, if you want to find out how to do this at home, go to bakedbrie.com Or if you forget that, just go to Meeke.org. I'll make sure that there is a link there. Coming up in just a little bit, Courtney Westbrook is in studio with us, and we're talking about Christian entrepreneurs. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started.
It's about being honest. You in business, all you have is your word. You know, fathers raising up their sons, tell them, look, son, all you have is your word. Your word is your bond.
I saw a need in the marketplace that wasn't being met. There was a demand, but there wasn't a supply, and that had to do with customer service.